Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Capital Gains Tax Solution Podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and their professional teams struggle to find great capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust is the best way to exit your highly appreciated assets tax deferred so you can grow and preserve more wealth. I'm your co-host, Pearson York, filling in for Brett Swarts. And each episode, I'm joined by some of the best wealth, business, real estate, leadership, and just all-around entrepreneurs in the world to share ideas, deal stories, and inspirations. So together, we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. We're going to be streaming on expertcresecrets.com, Capital Gains Tax Solutions YouTube channel, Kingdom Luxury Realty YouTube channel, and of course, our Kingdom Luxury Realty Facebook page. And I'm very excited about our next guest. We were chatting earlier before the show started, and he is amazing. We're so excited to have him on board. He was actually the driving force behind REI Revive, and he's the host of the Uncommon Real Estate podcast. He's been a real estate entrepreneur who runs multiple successful businesses in the Washington, D.C. metro area. And he is the founder and CEO of the Red X Group. And he can talk more about that. But I'm very excited to introduce to you guys Chris Craddock. Chris, welcome to the show, my man. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me here. I appreciate it. Looking forward to some time together.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I read your bio, not short of amazing. So let's talk about how you got there. Well, tell me a little bit about the story behind Chris Craddock today.
Yeah, sure. I graduated in 2000 from college and, went on staff with an organization called Young Life because I loved it. And and I've got a dog that's barking in my background, so I'm sorry about that, guys. But
I'm just glad it's not my kid screaming. So
yep, gotta love this. Gotta love this. I've asked
you gotta love it. It makes it real, man. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I asked my son to take care of the dog, and this is what happens. Anyway, all good, but I loved doing what I was doing, but I made $20,000 a year, and my wife got pregnant. I had to figure out something, and started flipping houses, and made a fortune. For me, 12 times what I made in a year in about 4 months, and then from there, I continued doing ministry stuff, and then as I had more kids, the money started running out, and started flipping houses again. And one thing led to another, and I ended up opening a retail team. That retail team, started growing really, really, really fast. And we'll probably do about 700 transactions this year.
Wow.
We're just moving quick, right? And from that, opened title company, doing a lending, insurance, little bit of every flipping, wholesaling, buy and hold, legal shield, just a lot of different stuff that all kind of came from the retail business. So that's my story in a nutshell in probably about 2 minutes. So hopefully that's quick.
Awesome. Yeah. So that's phenomenal. And before we kind of get into the meat of the episode here, I want to take you back a little bit and just kind of ask, I believe everyone has been given a set of gifts. I call them spiritual gifts. Some people call them superpowers, or, I don't know, strengths, whatever you want to call them. Right. But they help you kind of be successful and when you leverage those. And so what are one or two of your spiritual gifts or superpowers that you've had that have led you to where you are today? And how do you think that they've helped?
Yeah. I've broken them down into four. I call it, like, I've got a sign in my office called, that just says, "Are you in your genius zone?" And looking at the four pieces in that, one is strategic relationships, two, high level problem solving, three, providing massive energy, and four, pitching vision. Right. So those are the four things that I feel like I do better than anything else. Those are my genius zones. And honestly, those are the places where I try to spend most of my time every day. And if I'm doing stuff outside of that, I probably shouldn't be doing it.
Interesting. So this idea of the genius zone, where did it come from?
I heard somebody talk about it, and now I've read it in a couple different books ever since because I've been using it like crazy. And, even had the sign before. I just heard somebody use the phrase genius zone, and I was like, man, that's great. I like that. And so then, I just went all in on it, made the sign to put in my office, all the other stuff, and now I've seen it in a couple different books, and I think it's kind of becoming part of like the business owner vernacular and all that.
Oh yeah. Well, and anytime there's a cool phrase or whatever, right? The business world's gonna hop on board and take, especially if you can sell something with it, right? Like
Right?
that's
Yeah, 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 exactly.
that's the whole deal. So awesome. Well, so in developing where you've been today, right? You mentioned something that I kind of want to piggyback off of a couple of your strengths, and it's you said developing strategic relationships and then being able to pitch vision.
Right.
So how do you think that those two things, specifically those two things, have led to your success in the development of a team that's just so robust?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, honestly, that the big piece is everybody should be able to. You should be able to look at the people in your team, and they should be able to. I mean, just straight up, if they don't see, um, if you can't see bigger things for their life than they can see for their own life, then you just haven't done a good job. So that's pretty much it. And then you build these relationships with high level people. I mean, one of my favorite phrases is "Show me your future. Show me your friends. I'll show you your future. Show me your friends. I'll show you your
Yeah,
bank account." So that is, I mean, that's a big piece of it right there as well.
interesting. Okay, all right, cool. So in building this, we were talking a little bit before the show about kind of like where your focus is on the team and where you see kind of real estate moving forward. Let's unpack a little bit of that conversation that we were having for the audience and dive into it. So you were saying you're going after the real estate agent investor,
Yeah.
and so why?
Um, because I think that agents are just literally on the transactional roller coaster their whole life, right? It's like
Yeah,
if they go on vacation, their income goes on vacation. If they get sick, their income gets sick. And the reality is, real estate is the it's for the common man, right? Like you don't have to be super smart. You don't have to understand the analytics of the stock market to make a fortune in real estate. It's freaking monopoly. You land on Mediterranean, you buy Mediterranean. You land on Oriental, you buy Oriental. You land on Park Place, you buy Park Place, right? Like it's monopoly, right? And that's the key there, and then once you buy them, then you put those little greenhouses on, and then you swap out the greenhouses for the big red ones, right?
yeah,
That's it. But you can't win monopoly if you don't buy real estate, and so that's the key there. We've got to learn how to not just have a high paying job, but to build wealth. And the definition of wealth really is when your money works harder than you work, right? And so when you're buying properties, you need to, or when you're helping people sell properties, you need to take that money, put it aside, and buy more properties. So that's the big key there. And if you're not buying properties, if you're not building wealth, like you're going to be 65 years old still having to do the next deal.
yeah, definitely. So then, how are you pitching? Like when someone's new, right? What's your pitch? Like, give it to me. How do you get someone to hop on board and join your team? What's that
So
sound
what are
like?
we talking about? Like how do I bring people over to the Redux group?
Yeah, what's the how does it what's the conversation sound like? Let's just role play it really quick. I'm a new agent and I'm looking for a brokerage.
Yeah.
Hi,
So
Chris.
here's a big thing that I found is we used to take all new agents. We used to take all agents, and what I found is we stopped getting into business with people unless they're good. So unless they fit this
Nice.
criteria, happy, hungry, humble, and smart, like we don't want to do business with them. Hey, they may be great people. We can be friends, but I'll tell you what, if they're not happy, they've been a cancer in other places in their life, right? Like
Yep.
wherever you go, there you are, right? So if you're not a happy person, I don't want to be in business with you. Like we can be friends, but like I don't want to be around people that are the rain cloud, right? Always,
For sure.
always just like, life sucks, right? So So happy, hungry. Literally, if you're just sitting there and you want to do your quote research by looking on social media all day rather than actually calling people and talking to people and making things happen, I
Yeah.
don't want to do business with people like that. People either make things happen or they don't, right? So that's the deal. So happy, hungry, humble. A lot of times people mistake confidence for humility, or like for is the opposite of humility, where it's not, right?
Yeah.
We know so many people, and we were just talking about this guy that one of my friends is in business with, and the guy literally is always like, yeah, you're right, I need to work on this, you're right, and then he doesn't do anything about it, right? That is the opposite of humility. He comes like from a meek spirit, but then he doesn't do it. That is pridefulness and arrogance, like to a T, disguised in humility. That's a wolf in sheep's clothing. And then the last thing is smart, and smart doesn't mean you got like a perfect SAT score or you qualified for Mensa. It just means that you're not paying the stupid tax. You're not doing the same stupid things over and over and over again. When you make a mistake, you learn from it, and then you get better. And if that's the case, then I tell people, hey, you want to join my team? I'll help you make a couple $100,000 in the first year, right? Like, and that happens. My people make $200,000 in their first year on our team because of the fact that if they hit those goals. Now, not everybody does, but we have people that do that because they're willing to do what it takes to win.
Yeah, definitely. So are there certain like KPIs or key performance indicators that you're looking at, like when you're setting up like goals, or are you letting the people set up goals? How are you managing the day to day? How are you managing the account? Is there accountability? Walk me through that process. What does that look like?
Yeah, so there's a couple pieces. One, I mean, if people want to do well, they're going to need to. The first piece is, uh, how many conversations you're going to have, because it's activity and skill, right? So you need to have a minimum of 10 conversations about real estate 5 days a week. That's 50 conversations a week. If you really want to crush it, or if you're just starting out, like an airplane, the hardest the airplane engine works is at takeoff. Then you should talk to 20 people a day, right? And if you're not doing it, if you're talking to 3 people a day, I'm telling you, you're not invested in your own future, right? Hard words make soft people, soft words make hard people, and we don't want to be hard and not growth oriented, right? So that's the key there. And then skill, right? What are you doing to level up? Obviously, if you're listening to this podcast, then you're looking to grow.
Right.
You need to be listening to podcasts, listening to audible books, minimum half an hour of personal development a day, but I recommend an hour a day. So yeah, minimum 10 conversations a day, minimum half hour of education, personal development every day. But if you want to be a rock star, you should talk to 20 people a day, an hour of education a day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so now you've kind of built up the team. You mentioned you were doing a whole bunch of other things that you've kind of like all partnered together and kind of I don't know, formulated a big machine, right? An Amazon, if you will. Does a little bit of a whole bunch of different stuff. How do you maintain focused in your business on the things that actually matter, and how do you not get derailed, and then how do you perform well in all of these different categories?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, it's hard to stay focused, right? Like entrepreneurs, right? We're always looking at the next shiny object. And so the big key is you've got to have a business partner, you got to have an integrator, you've got to have a plan. If you don't have that, then it doesn't work. I was just training my team this morning on time blocking, right? Let me just so for real estate agents, I'll just say for the real estate agent, these are the things that should be in every single day, right? Lead gen, lead follow up, appointments or showtime, right? Like you're out there, you're in your performance zone. Your admin work, which is not dollar productive, but it is dollar destructive if you don't do it. Your workout and your training or leveling up, right? Those are the things that if you're not doing that every single day, then you're not moving forward. So for me personally, every single day I've got my stuff that I'm working on in each area that is in my genius zone where I am moving the ball forward.
Interesting. So it sounds like you're not necessarily focused on one particular facet in like within the actual like real estate space. It sounds like you're focused on what am I like good at conceptually, right? And then you just apply that across different sectors.
Yeah. 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 And I've earned the right to do that, right? Like when I started in real estate, my first year, I personally did 40, I think it was 44 transactions, right? So, and I churned and burned, right? That was what I did when the first year we opened the retail team, right? I was on the phone, I was calling, I was prospecting, and then your business earns the right to build out the org chart, right? So you lead with revenue. I made a ton of money by selling a lot of properties. And then when I made that money, I used that money to invest in people to replace areas that I was doing, right? If you don't have an assistant, you are the assistant. So the first thing you got to do is get an assistant. Then I found some other folks that worked as buyers agents for me, other listing agents for me, inside sales to set appointments. Now we've hired marketing people. So all of these things happen as we make money you make money, you prove your concept, and then you build out the next piece. And then that grows, you prove the concept, you build out the next piece. So it's red light, green light, which I always say with PTSD after watching Squid Games. But it's red light, green light. Where is it green light? Where are we having success and a return on this? And then if we're having a return, we spend more money on that. If we're not, then we pivot to a place where we're having a return.
Yeah, definitely. So if you've got this like startup that you're doing, right? And you're wearing all the hats. At what point do you find, okay, I'm delegating this? Like how long do you do something before you're like, all right, like I'm done with this task. I'm moving on. Outsourcing it.
Right. So here's one of the things that I found out, right? So let's just, because this math is simple for me. If somebody makes $100,000 a year, right, okay, their time is worth $50 an hour. If you make $1 million a year, your time is worth $500 an hour. But let's just use the $100,000 a year, because I think that's where a lot of people that's their first little, everybody that I know, it's like make six figures, make seven figures. Like those are like the jumps people want to get to. Obviously, there's lots of things in between. But let's just talk six figures for now, just because I think this is relevant to other people, right? So six figures, $50 an hour. So there's a book called Clockwork that is talking how you build out your business, right? And what you do is just take a sticky pad, and everything you do for 2 weeks, you just write on the sticky pad, boom, 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 boom. You write it down and you just stick it to your wall. And then you look at all of those things that you have on that sticky pad, and you say, okay, how many of these things are worth less than $50 an hour if you make $100,000 a year, right? What are the things that are worth less than $50 an hour? And so then you take all of those things, you hire somebody to handle that. And what happens is then you're doing the things. If you made $100,000 a year, that means you were doing a lot of things worth less than that. That means the things that you were doing all of a sudden are higher income producing activities, and your income just leveled up. And so the first time I netted over $1 million, I realized, okay, my time is worth $500 an hour here. And what am I doing that is less than that? I need to get that off my plate and start hiring for that. And then it's a painful exercise. It's like an ab workout. You hate it, but you love it. It's a painful exercise because you realize that a lot of what you're doing, you should be hiring somebody else to do for you.
Right. So you're all math. Then it's a math equation for you, right? If you can, if the task is less than what you're making, you're outsourcing so you can focus on the other task. So it's not necessarily like, okay, for example, in my own business, right? I'll spend time like doing like data curation, trying to build out a list, right? We'll do some wholesaling, right? We're trying to find a buyer in a certain area. I'll go, it'll be an LLC of a house that was just flipped, a few weeks ago, months ago, whatever the case may be, right? We'll go in, we'll find the LLC, right? We'll, find out who the agent is, or call the LLC and try and find the number to call somebody to talk to them, sell the thing. I really want to outsource that because it takes a lot of time. It's like, hey, like, this is like, an hour or so of data curation that I really just want to talk to the person if I can have someone do that. So how many times it's not how many times do you actually have to do that before you're good enough to outsource it? It's literally, okay, like how much money have you made? And is it worth paying, a VA in the Philippines or something, the $25 or whatever it is to build you that list? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've got a great company that handles and manages VAs for you. Not that I don't own it, but like a company, one of my buddies owns it. And if you reach out to me at Craddock, I'll put you in touch with them and they'll give you a discount on it. But they're awesome, right? But like, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Why are you, grabbing lists, right? Like, why are you grabbing all the other things? Now, here's one of the reasons why, like you, and I say you as the listener, as myself, right, anybody, here's one reason why. If you haven't made any money yet, then you've got to earn the right to do that, because you're the assistant until you make enough money to afford to hire an assistant, right? So that's the key there. Why would somebody do it? Well, the only reason why you should be doing it is if you haven't made enough money to prove that you're worth $25 an hour or $50 an hour or $100 an hour. Once you've proven that, then you hire people that will do stuff at $1 an hour rate that's below where what you're bringing to the market is.
So let me ask you this. Let's say someone made $100,000 in another industry and now they're getting in and they're new to real estate, but they have some savings. Does that translate over, or is it like you gotta start fresh?
Not yet, because their skills aren't sharp yet. The second they prove it, that's good. Now, I mean, in any industry, to win, you can either have dollars or you can have time, right? Like that's it. You can hire for your weaknesses. I mean, I'll tell you, if Mark Cuban walked in and decided he wanted to be a real estate agent and build a real estate team, I promise you he doesn't start like I started, because I had no money when I started, right? I promise you he doesn't start like, cold calling, whatever. He spends his dollars and builds out the team because he has the information that he needs, right? So if you've got a bunch of money and you're looking to build out the team, let's say you're making 100,000 and you set aside, 50 grand to start the team, right? Well, great. Then you can hire somebody as an assistant, and right away you're on the phones, smiling and dialing, you're building out what you need to build out and making that happen. But you've got to do it from day one. You've got to make sure that you are relentless about getting that out there and making money.
Yeah. Good advice. Good advice. So, okay, let's do a little pivot. So now that you've built this real estate empire, are you investing in your own real estate deal? What are you investing in right now currently?
Oh man. So yeah, I've got a couple duplexes I'm looking at right now. I've got a single family home that it looks like I'm going to buy. Last year we bought, I bought a bunch of properties last year. So yeah, I mean, you're talking about tax solutions here as well. I mean, I'm buying properties that I'm going to hold because, as a real estate professional, you can do a cost segregation on these properties and save a fortune in taxes. So yeah, last year, December rolled around and I thought I'd bought a bunch of properties. I did a bunch of things to not have to pay much in taxes, comparatively. Right. And then I got a call from my CPA saying, "Hey, we're not close. We've got a lot of money." So I had to buy 2 more properties that I'm able to do a cost seg on, to kind of bring us closer to where we wanted to be, and that's really powerful when you can get into single, like I should be in the top tax bracket. And when you can be paying percentage wise single digits, I mean, that's where we should be. And real estate agents and real estate investors should be there, right? Because there's a book called Tax Free Wealth. And in that book, essentially what you see is the tax code incentivizes certain behavior. And one of those behaviors is creating affordable housing for people. And so if you buy properties, whether it's multifamily or single family, you can cost seg those properties and essentially save, get to a place where you're paying very little taxes. Because the government, and it's not being aggressive or shady or gray. It's the government literally says, we reward these behaviors. And one of them is providing housing, right? And that's what we do.
Yep, absolutely. So are you selling any properties?
I do a little bit. I mean, I'll probably do like 8 to 12 deals this year. And with it, I mean, and I say that I've got an assistant that handles, like I'll meet with some friends, and I've got an assistant that handles negotiating with other agents and other stuff. I'll just go and kind of get them signed up and, be in touch with them and all that, just because on the disc profile, I'm a high D driver, but I'm also a high I. I like people. And so if I'm hanging with my friends at the same time, that's what I'll end up doing.
Yep, definitely. Cool. So we were talking a little bit about before the show about the Deferred Sales Trust and how that whole thing works. And so just as a little plug here, shameless plug, right? You got to get the shameless plugs going on the podcast. But essentially, we're able to sell assets even if they're not not real estate, even if it's a stock or a business or a crypto, whatever. I mean, we just had a lady sell $5 million worth of Bitcoin, and then she's putting it into a business venture with her friend, all tax deferred. She deferred about $1.85 million in tax. So if you guys come across these people that are struggling with the capital gains tax, there's definitely a solution there. And have you ever been in a situation where you're dealing with like a 1031 exchange?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
What do you find is the biggest frustration with that?
Well, in this market, just finding the new place to put it. If they don't have something already lined up.
Yeah. It's the time and control. So I'll tell you just a real quick story that kind of was like the mind blower for me. So back in 2006, we had a gentleman who wanted to sell his multifamily property. It was like a $20 million property across from the Minnesota Vikings Stadium. He had like, I don't know, $3 million tax or something like that. He couldn't find an upleg for his 1031. And he's like, I really want to sell, capitalize, but I don't want to find a new property. I've used a lot of my depreciation. And so, it's not good anymore. I want to just cash out. So he ended up doing a deferred sales trust. He paid off all of his debt. He sold the property, and he deferred about $3 million in tax. He put all of that into super conservative like bonds and mutual funds. He earned about 4 to 4.5% over the time. 2008 comes. I'm sure you remember that time. Crash, right? But in 2012, he ends up getting a call from the bank, and they're like, "Hey, that buyer that you sold your property to?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, the 1031 guy who way overpaid for the property." They're like, "Yeah, we're foreclosing on him. We'd like to know if you want to buy it back." He's like, "Well, how much?" And they're like, "Well, it's about 40% off what you sold it for." He's like, "Yeah, absolutely." So he ends up partnering with his trust, does a JV, and they go back and they buy the property back again. And on top of it, he got a brand new depreciation schedule. So it's like a totally like mind-blowing story that doesn't happen all the time. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, you got lucky." And my response is, yeah, he did. But luck is where hard work meets, preparation. And so, because he was set up correctly to get like from the get-go, like he was able to capitalize on the thing. And so when you're out there and you have this, like, it's a phenomenal strategy for all sorts of stuff. But so anyways, there's our shameless plug on the podcast there. So I'd like to get into the lightning round with you, because I know that we're kind of coming up on our time here, and I want to make sure that we're respecting that. So what is your favorite leadership quote?
Oh, it's Zig Ziglar. You can have everything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want in life.
Yeah. Okay. What's your favorite book?
Christian guy, the Bible.
Nice. What are you most curious about right now?
What I would like, I look at what I would say to myself 5 years ago. What would I say to myself 5 years in the future about why I'm not? I mean, I feel like I'm leveling up and growing fast, but like, what would I say in the next 5 years? Look back and say, hey, man, what are you thinking?
Probably buy Bitcoin and hold.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
I saw a funny meme the other day. It's like, in 3 words, if you could go back in time, like, what would you say to your 20-year-old self or whatever? And it's just like, buy Bitcoin, hold.
Yeah.
I was dying. I was like, oh man, don't buy a Suburban. It'll bankrupt you.
Right.
So, okay. Where can people find you?
Well, if you're a real estate agent, obviously keep listening to this podcast, but the average podcast listener listens to 7. So keep listening to this one, but I've got the podcast Uncommon Real Estate. I'd love to be one of your other 7. And it's for the agent investor. And then at Craddock, CRADDROCK on Instagram. And then, those are 2 of the easy ones. And then chriscraddock.com will take you. REI Revive is my coaching platform. And I'm literally always looking at how to monetize dead leads. If you're going after wholesale deals, if you're going after distressed sellers, you can flip and wholesale those, but you also can turn those into listings. But most people don't do it at a high level. So that's what we've really learned how to monetize.
Interesting. Well, I got plenty of wholesale deals. I'll be calling you afterwards, seeing if you guys are interested in any of those. Because, they're out there. That's for sure. A lot of people, they're like, oh, the market's too hot. No, deals are definitely out there.
100%.
That's a fact.
Sure.
Cool. And if you guys want to learn more about the Deferred Sales Trust, you can find us at capitalgainstaxsolution.com. That's capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. We also have a mastermind every Friday at 10 a.m. For those of you who want to come on, you can ask questions, pop on. It's a phenomenal environment. Brett and our other business partner, Jake Miller's on there. He's a savant when it comes to taxes and structure and estate planning and all that good stuff. It's way above my pay grade, that's for sure. But it's a phenomenal environment to come learn about it, ask questions. We'll do deal stories and all that kind of stuff. So you guys can find that at capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. And you can find me personally at Pierce at kingdomluxuryrealty.com. If you're in the SoCal, Orange County area, and you are looking to buy or sell, absolutely give me a call. I'd be more than happy to talk with you and talk shop, talk solutions, and see what we can do for you. So, Chris, any parting words?
No, I'll tell you, activity and skill. Last thing I'll just say is, if so many people were so generous with their time with me when I was coming up, and even now are so generous with their time with me. So I just want to do the same. So if anybody DMs me on Instagram at Craddock, I'll personally reply. Anything I can do to help. Just let me know.
Awesome, guys. So you can find Chris, chriscraddock.com, on Instagram at Craddock. And don't forget to check out his Uncommon Real Estate podcast. It's phenomenal stuff, guys. And we're so thankful. Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. We got a ton of value out of your wisdom and your insights. Really appreciate it. Got a bunch of things I'm gonna go home and do myself. So thanks again for the wisdom, and thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. All right, guys. So you have just heard another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. As always, we believe that most high net worth individuals and those who help them struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust is the best way to grow and preserve your wealth. Please rate, review, subscribe. Find us on YouTube, guys, and find us at capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. It was great to see you. Chris, thanks again. We'll talk to you soon.